So stop moving and be a normal person.
Cannot stop moving. I am not normal.
You are incredibly corny. This is why I don't do this anymore. I quit. I quit
I
everything.
am I am programmed for fun.
All right, just get it started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Steve from the 8BG, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi, Sterling,
That's the Stormeister.
the Sterlmeister.
And
Okay,
yeah,
that's
not too
new.
bad, right?
That's,
And we're the 8BG. We're supposed to have a special guest coming through as well, but
ooh,
Justin,
when?
I just invited him.
Oh,
Xbox is his thing, so I was like, you know what?
did he watch the thing?
You know what? I'm pretty sure he did. Let's take a bet. Let's take a bet.
I don't. No, I'm not betting. I'm just gonna ask him now.
I know since you're asking Justin, I'll go ahead first. I've been playing Streets of Rage 4 for the last week,
Yeah.
and it's a very highly anticipated game, at least for me. It's been 26 years since Streets of Rage 3, and Streets of Rage is one of my favorite beat 'em up games.
Wait, I think our special guest is here. Are you here?
What's up?
Hey,
Yes, our special guest.
we have a question for you.
Shoot.
Did you watch the Xbox presentation of games?
I kind of tuned out when I saw Assassin's Creed 30 frames per second.
So you didn't, but did you watch the whole thing at all, or you just
No, after that I just went. I'm not interested.
see?
But what did you see though? Hold on.
I saw a couple different games that were demoed. Whether or not that was actual like in-game footage, or whether that was just some kind of preset thing that they put together. I mean, last time they had a release, and the graphics were like incredible quality. It was revealed that they just had a PC set up with two 1080 Ti's running the game, and it was just kind of like that's not actual game. That's not actual representation of what the finished product is. But I think I'm just kind of disappointed at the fact that at best you're looking at 4K 30 frames per second on next gen consoles when they should be pushing 4K 60 frames stable.
Can we
at medium settings at best?
Can we pause 1 second?
Just hold that thought because we're gonna get right into that in a second.
Sure thing.
And also, yes, this is our special guest, friend of the show, Justin, the Probot.
The Xbox man.
Xbox man.
Why am I Xbox man?
Because you're the one that went out and bought an Xbox over a PS4 at the beginning.
Yeah, because PS4 didn't have anything that was interesting
Yeah.
at the time.
And what did Xbox have?
Xbox had a lot of stuff I was interested in. Xbox had Forza Horizon. Xbox had Forza Motorsport. This was before, Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo was just terrible. And there were no real racing games on PS4, and I just wanted racing games.
Okay.
Xbox has that. And then, now I'm on PC, and I get that.
All right.
All right. So now we have the backstory.
Xbox guy.
So anyway, Streets of Rage 4. I like it. It's it's a simple game, but it doesn't really revolutionize the gameplay as I predicted. From what we've seen in the trailers, it's pretty much a simple beat 'em up game in the same vein as Streets of Rage 2. The biggest change they made to the series is the physics a little bit, because now when you punch enemies or use certain moves on them, they bounce off walls, and in that way you can set up combos, which is also new to the series. So you can do multiple combos, and you can do strings as much as you can. I don't think there's a limit to how much you can do, but I believe you ward over up to maybe 100 hits or whatever. So
I've seen higher.
cool. Seen higher? I mean, I guess the maximum award, I don't know, not award, but the maximum, I guess, level. I mean, I guess you can keep racking points up.
Changes from purple to red or whatever color is like super impressive color.
Yeah,
I
think red is the highest one that you can achieve. I think it stops at red, maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't gone past maybe like 90 or something like that. But I believe from what I've seen in the videos, I think somebody did like 100 hit combo or something. Don't remember, but it's cool that it's there because I think it adds a challenge to the game and also adds some replay value. So if you want to try doing some doing some combos and get a better score for each level, you can definitely do that. The graphics was kind
Score.
of hit and miss. Hmm?
What's score for?
Oh, the score. Well, the points you earn from scoring gives you an extra life. So once you hit a certain threshold, after a certain amount of points, you get extra life during arcade and story mode.
Is it online multiplayer?
And also, there's a score there's also a score at the end of the level. So when they rank you from, I believe, like D to S rank, and there is online multiplayer. I have it on the Switch, so it's limited to 2 players.
All
during
the
story and arcade.
all the online versions are limited to 2, except
Oh, okay.
if you use
Except for
Steam.
PC. No PC.
You have to. It's a Steam specific thing because if you can buy it on PC anywhere, but the Steam specifically lets you play any couch co-op game with someone online. So if I wanted to play a game that only I own with Justin, we could play a 2-player game using online because they treat it like he's a local person.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of like, oh.
He wouldn't even need a copy of the game. It's like sharing or something that they do now, which I haven't tried it, but I heard it works pretty well. So I think that's something we should look into. But go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And the game, the gameplay, is good. Graphics looks great. I mean, the hand drawn style works wonderful. And the only thing I would say I'm disappointed in is the character selection and some of the music. The music doesn't, vibe as hard as like the part 1 and part 2. And also I feel that like there's hints of potential in the music. Like you listen to it and you feel like it might lead up to something more, but it just never hits that crescendo where it's just like, okay, this is my jam, or this is really good. It's just like it's there faintly when you listen to it. And then the character selection, it's kind of funny. Like on the main menu screen, you see all these characters there, but all the secret characters aside from Adam are just the retro sprites from previous games, and that was kind of disappointing because not that I shouldn't assume this, but it seems like you would be able to unlock more of the bosses, but you can't. It's just the retro characters you unlock, and Adam is the only one who's really a playable unlockable character. I presume they're probably going to do DLC down the line. So, while I understand that, it's kind of disappointing that there wasn't at least 1 or 2 more characters who are in the vein as the current roster. But definitely, Streets of Rage is $20-$25. I'd say it's worth the download. I think it's definitely worth buying.
Do you think it's worth $25?
If he didn't say yes, right? He didn't say right off the bat.
I think 20. I think if there was a little bit more unlockables, like in terms of
would you be better? Would you feel better if the game was like $20?
I think that's a good sweet spot. I think that's perfect. I mean, I do think it's worth 25. I just wish. Yeah, I mean.
Well, you got the. Did you get the digital edition or did you get like one of those physical copies?
No, I got a digital because the physical ones were like OD. I was
like $60, 50, $60.
But
some of them were like $250, $300 for like
some of the stuff they were showing to me didn't look that appealing. So I'm like, let me just buy the game. I'm not looking for the
I mean, was there any was the art done by the same guy?
No, I mean the art was different. The art is done by a new company. Sega had given the IP have lend the IP over to 3 developers, Dotemu, Guard Crush Games, and Lizard Cube, and they actually were responsible for one of their remakes of Monster World, which also released on the Switch. And that game, I have that game too. That game has wonderful art. Like it's essentially one of those remakes, those hard remakes where it's like 1-to-1 remake, except the only difference is the music and the graphics, and you can actually switch between the original Genesis graphics and the newer style.
That's sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's kind of like the Halo Master Chief Collection. You can switch in game between the original graphics and the That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Now I guess they're trying to justify the price point for some of these physical copies. I was thinking maybe there would be like some kind of homage to the original artist that uh, did the artwork for it. But I guess still having a physical copy of the game's artwork is still pretty cool to have,
I mean, I'll tell
especially
you,
for a title like Streets of Rage. So I guess
I'm
there's
not even. I'm not even really sure who did the art for Streets of Rage because I know like the main thing that sticks out to me when I think of Streets of Rage is mostly the music because I think Streets of Rage has the most incredible soundtrack, and I think a lot of people feel the same way too because I think Yuzo Koshiro was one of the first people to really have his name showcased on like in the beginning of the title screen. Like I don't think you really saw that a lot back in the day. Like you would think he'd make the game. He's the person who made the game, but to have a music composer whose name is like right in the title, that's very rare. So it kind of goes to show how strong the music ties to Streets of Rage is, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, especially back then, all those Sega Genesis games, they had really good music.
I got a question. So
go ahead.
Is it okay? So it's not to me. I think 1999 would have been a real sweet spot where I might have bought it. And I know $5 seems kind of crazy to justify a purchase or not. Like it would at $25 and knowing how whatever content you get in it. How does it stack up against the remake that we played?
I still have to play more of the remake, but I felt like when I was playing the remake, I was blown away by how many options you had
right
in that game. Like, even though I didn't try every single thing, but I love how like in the remake, Streets of Rage remake, which was a fan-made game, released 8 years ago, but it's all over the web now.
Yeah.
Was it released 8 years ago?
I think it was a lot longer. I think it was like 2006 or something. 7. I don't know.
Yeah, it was released a long time ago.
It's fantastic, by the way, people. Just letting y'all know.
It feels great. Like I had a lot of fun playing that game, and I felt like that was a great homage to the entire series, and it added a lot of new elements. Like I love how the story mode had 3 different paths,
branching paths, right.
Branching paths. Like to me, that was really ambitious, and I feel like they played it a little bit safe here
and free. I love. That's ambitious and free.
Yeah, exactly. Streets of Rage remake was ambitious. I feel like with Streets of Rage 4, I felt like I wanted a little bit more.
And they played it very safe.
Let me give you an example like of something that I felt like they should have done a lot more. Like in the beginning of the game, there's a very small like animation between with certain characters like Axel, Blaze, and some boss character. And being that the characters are animated, it looks really good. And you think there'll be more cutscenes in the game, but in story mode, it's just kind of like it's just mostly like still images and text.
Right.
And I expected not to have voices, but with the style that they chose, you would think they would lean more into doing like animated cutscenes or something like that. Like I felt like it needed that extra polish to really like make it feel I guess like a more premium product in a way. Not that it feels cheap, but I feel like it's kind of like in this day and age, still images and text is kind of a bit boring. And they do have voices for the characters, but they are only limited to the character select screen. So when you select them, you hear them say their name or a little catchphrase or whatever they say, but that's only limited to that. So I feel like it would have really made the game feel a little bit better or bigger if they had like small cutscenes in between levels and things like that. But I think if being that it's only $5, difference between like, because I feel like $20 would have been perfect.
Yeah,
$25 is not a bad price, but I think you have to I would say maybe for more of a fan of the series, you might enjoy it. If you're new, I think it's maybe a good way to step in and try it out and enjoy it. But I'd recommend it though. It's not a game that
everybody seems to have great things to say. I think I'm gonna maybe complete the River City Girls first, because I actually really did enjoy that when we played it for a little bit. But I think I'll get around to checking it out. I've seen it, and like you said, I feel like it's safe. You know what you're getting with it, so You know.
Like I think the biggest difference now, because a lot of now with games now, it's like even though games are released, you never know how it's really going to be until
Hmm.
like maybe 6 months or a year down the line. If they release DLC, I feel like maybe the DLC they might release is probably definitely going to be some of the boss characters, because I felt like one thing this game has going for itself is has a great sense of style.
I would.
And some characters, like, they look really cool. Like there's a boss named Estelle. She's like a military, kind of like Sonya Blade-ish, but a little bit more muscular. And she looks really cool. And I'm like, when I first played it, my first playthrough, I'm like, oh, she has to be an unlockable character, because she just looks really. She has that style and that look, and everything. I think she'll probably be one of the more popular characters.
All right.
But another negative thing I want to say is it's a real big nitpick, but I'm not a fan of the bosses in this game, because I feel like
They look
it's
kind of
kind of
lame.
cheesy. They look like something out of like either Fire Emblem or like a Trigger anime. Like it's
Yeah.
really
I,
lame, and their names are lame. Like, I know it's crazy nitpicking in a beat 'em up game about the names, but when I saw, like, when you go to the story mode, it's like they look really cheesy. Like I feel out of place to me. I feel like Street of Rage isn't the most realistic game out there, especially with 3 having like the robots and everything.
right.
But it felt a little bit more, grounded, I guess. But with these characters, they just look very too anime-ish. I think that there's a style that they did a good anime balance with the main characters, but the boss characters looked way too anime for me. But
Okay.
yeah. So that's it.
I'll
Last
get
Streets of Rage.
I'll get to what I've been playing, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
only going to talk about one game that I
Mm-hmm.
started playing that I've had over for a year, thanks to a certain person in our group who lent me Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I haven't played a lot of it, but I actually picked it up and started like playing it. Playing it, it's like, so I was like, I made an effort to get out of the opening area, do those 4 or whatever, and then start walking around. Um, that's a and I already knew it. Sometimes I feel like I avoid great games just because I know I'm gonna get absorbed into it,
Mm-hmm.
and I can already feel it. Like, I can already feel it. This Zelda's gonna be fantastic. I like what it does in terms of really kind of not holding your hand too much and just kind of throwing you out there, and you I can sense kind of how it could be kind of. I think it's different. I heard people say it's not that it's super hard, but it's kind of difficult at times because of how easy it is to, like, just something random to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I was playing today, and I kind of lost track of where I was going, so I had to use my, like, telescope thing to see where I was heading, and a rock fell off a cliff and killed me. So, like, it just rolled down the hill and killed me. And I was, at first I was like, what? Like, there was no way to tell that rock was coming. There was nothing. It just, I was caught in my camera and it rolled me over. And the other way I died is I was kind of getting used to the controls, and I blew up a bomb by me. Like, I blew myself up with a bomb. And I just, like, in the beginning of the game, a bomb does like 2.5 damage or something like that. So I was dead. I just killed myself. Like, it was in a challenge cave or whatever. But I like how, like, it feels open. Like, you're running around and you can just, you might walk into like a mini boss out of nowhere, and you can decide whether to fight him. And most of the time, I feel like where I'm at, I should be avoiding anything that looks really large. But I see it's going to be great. I can't wait to play more of it. So I'm going to definitely invest more time into that. And yeah, that's it. So let's jump into this.
Wait, Justin, because we have to, be fair to all.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. What have you been playing?
One Step from Eden.
Oh, I watched you play that.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
It's like basically
It's like Battle Network.
Yeah,
a bit,
Mega Man
but
EXE.
much harder in a sense, where it's like Battle Network. You basically choose your chips. You basically build your deck, and you know what you're gonna get. This game is a roguelike where you pick up things as you go along, but you're not guaranteed to get the same things all the time.
Yeah, every run is different, and
Every run's different. characters are different. They have different
You-
stats. They have different attributes. Some attack. They all attack differently. They all have different builds. But the fun thing about it is that you can build each character and stack your deck, however you want. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just your preference. And there are multiple ways to beat the game, and there are multiple endings, and there's like 13, 14 different hard modes. It's a lot of fun, but it's very challenging.
Did you beat it?
I did beat it. Music is.
What would you say is? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, what do you think is like the average play time?
Varies.
Like,
No, because the problem is when you first play it, it doesn't like hold your hand. Like, it doesn't explain things. It just gives you the basic controls, and you figure everything else as you go along. So you're supposed to fuck up and fail for like the first couple of times until you get the hang of it. And it's only until you're like your fifth or sixth playthrough, as you start to get in the hang of it, that you kind of figure things out about, okay, I want to start building more of a flow deck. I want to start building more of a frost or a poison, or I want to kind of stack my deck towards this type of build, where you get a sense for what different cards do, and how that impacts your deck going forward. And the learning curve on figuring out some of the boss mechanics is not exactly easy, and it gets more difficult as you progress. So the first boss you fight is pushover, but by the time you get to like the fifth boss, everything's different, and that's not even towards the end of the game. But it's a lot of fun. The only thing is they haven't opened up online yet, and I think the Switch gets updates much later than the PC does. PC's already got mod support and everything else. The Switch has none of that right now.
You were playing it on the Switch?
No, on the PC.
Okay.
I got it for Steam. I haven't touched my Switch.
Yeah, I actually picked it up to play Zelda, and I kind of forget I have it. but I will say this. This just further proves my point, but just like how certain things about the Switch aren't for everybody. So, for instance, like, I started playing the Zelda game, and I said I was using the Switch controller. That I don't have a Pro controller or whatever, so I use the Switch. You put it into that thing. Oh my god! I said, how do people?
It's not.
Can't. How do you play with this? And then I was like, okay, I was playing it in handheld mode as well, and I was like, I can't play. Like, I get it if you want to play this on the go, but you playing this game with these controls for me just didn't. I instantly went and ordered a wired. Like, they have a Zelda. It was like limited edition controller. It's like $24. I just ordered that, and I'm waiting for that to come. I'm gonna still play it, but I literally couldn't play in handheld mode for like too long because I was just frustrated with the controls. I don't.
Your hand hurts. It's hard to get different buttons, and the controller's like bending all the time.
It just didn't feel to me.
Like initially when I was playing the Switch, I didn't feel that problem, but I don't know why. But the last maybe couple of months or so,
You didn't feel that problem?
I really didn't. No, when I was playing, I used to just enjoy playing it. It's only until recently when I'm playing it, my hands get cramped a lot more often.
The first thing I did when I got the Switch was get that Pro controller, because I realized that controller is not exactly ergonomic.
But I wasn't gonna pay 70. How much is that? It's like $70, right?
Yeah, it's like $50-$60.
I just I bought a wired $24 one. It was official by Nintendo.
Thank God you didn't buy the Labo.
I wanted to try that just to try it.
Why?
But wait,
it's just cardboard cutout.
Because Nintendo kind of knows how to make things fun, and I'm not saying that was successful or not, but I know like you if something is made by Nintendo, it usually has some kind of creative purpose. Like they don't just really. I'm not saying I don't know how good it is, but
creative purpose.
Yeah, no one's 100% in anything, right? So they've come a long way since that. So.
And also, too, I'll say I'm also suffering from the Joy-Con drift now.
I've heard. I just read an article about that.
Yeah, I just recently I read about it a while ago. I think it's been happening. A lot of people have been complaining about it for like a while now.
And there's nothing like you can almost do about it. I heard.
I feel like the only console that's never had really issues with the controllers is PlayStation. My Xbox Elite controller, same thing. I had to drift. I had to get rid of. There's no way to fix it. I had to get rid of the controller.
I've gone through like 3 or 4 PlayStation 4 controllers.
Really?
Yes. Where well, first thing they do is they get dust.
Well, for inside. You, is it the D-pad or the analog stick?
It's the analog stick. So when you get first, it was a problem. Like I had the Destiny version that was a white controller, and it got. First, it would do the thing would drift, like your aim would start moving by itself. Then I realized what that was because dust gets inside of the.
Is that's what it is?
The analog, yeah. So what you can do is you can blow in it, like move the analog stick, or use something that blows hard in there, and then you can get the dust out. But then the right analog stick just decided to kind of kaput. So I've literally had 3 PS4 controllers. But Steve, continue with the drift thing.
Yeah, so with the drift, I mean, it's like kind of like the name implies. When you have the controller, it stays in one area. So my controller is always kind of like moving up. Mm-hmm. So like, let's say I'm on Smash Brothers trying to select my character, it's like a hassle. Or even in the main menu screen. Mm-hmm. And I know they said that one of the, the only way to fix it apparently is to kind of open it up and clean out a certain part of the controller, probably the area like where the joystick rests. Yeah. Apparently they say that gets a lot of dirt.
It sounds like the
traps it in.
Sounds like the PS4 issue. Sounds like the PS4 issue, but yeah, if you open it up, it voids your warranty of it. I'm sure. Or,
I'm pretty sure.
Not that anybody cares, but
right now it's not like you can send out your stuff to Nintendo,
right? Because their repair shops are closed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Switch's only saving grace is that there are multiple ways to play games. Right. And that's one thing that's like really saving it, because if this was like something like kind of like the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death, where it was just like constant and like it was happening with every console, it would be really it would be treacherous for Nintendo. But I think they're lucky that they have multiple ways to play. But so
let's get into let's get into this.
Potatoes.
What? So what we're going to talk about?
That's what we do in this podcast. We talk about
meat and potatoes. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, look, I'm not knocking your fluff.
But so the Xbox held their conference last week. Their supposedly gameplay conference, and afterwards, a lot of people were disappointed because there was a lack of gameplay. I guess real gameplay footage. There was a lot more trailers or concept footage,
but it wasn't
using in-game engine. It was like using in-game engine, but it wasn't actual gameplay of games where you can actually see how it would look if you was using a controller. I was
gonna say, isn't that kind of standard? I mean, like unless they say, okay, we're gonna do a live stage gameplay demo. Like when I was watching that, I was actually fine with what I saw in terms of it being in an engine, because like I'm pretty sure at this point the way the internet works, they got to be pretty smart when launching trailers now in terms of at least not showing you something that they can't do anymore. Like you can't get away with that. You can't Killzone 2 this like anymore. You know what I mean? Like saying, oh, is this real gameplay? Or so I mean, but let's get into it. So what was your opinion of the whole conference?
Who wants to go up first? Ask me.
Yeah, well, Justin kind of didn't really watch it all. He wasn't too interested in it.
I'll say my.
No, you go.
Okay, I'll say my piece. I thought it was okay. Number one, I think the issue, and I think it's a similar issue that Sony had with their conference. When they people when they just released the logo and they said that I believe there was going to be like some kind of reveal. So I think there was another issue that Sony had too. So I feel like maybe Sony and Microsoft need to work on their social media. I think they need to work on the wording.
Okay.
I feel like maybe Xbox Showcase would have been better instead of gameplay. Because not to say that it can't be gameplay footage, but I feel like looking at it as someone who plays games, you're not really sure if that's going to be the exact way it's going to look when you play the game. So it could be showing you concepts of how the game would play if you were to, if it were to be on the system. But I don't think they gave like.
I gotta imagine though at this point.
It might look the same. I don't think it looks.
It's real because we're real close to launching, right? It's not like when they first showed like let's say Killzone, that was not even a launch title on PlayStation. That was like way off. And of course, then it turned out like, yeah, that was CG. But like, I think like they're close enough now to the launch where you're gonna get pretty. And I'm unless they're basically lying because they said this at the start of the thing. They said this was on running on Xbox hardware, not like Justin said earlier, where they used to say this in an Xbox game, but they'd run it on PC. Ubisoft was real good at that, showing you like Watch Dogs and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. Like they looked incredible in their quote unquote gameplay trailers, and then when you see the real games, they look like almost a previous generation kind of game. But
you know what I think? I feel like people were more disappointed that they didn't show gameplay of Assassin's Creed footage. Assassin's Creed.
Right, they just showed the engine.
And I think they
running
were
the game.
upset about that because I think a lot of fans are kind of like waiting to see how that game is. How the gameplay is in that game. Like, there's any new features. So I think it probably stems from that.
Justin,
yo,
you said the because we should have a list of the games.
So the list of the games is Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Okay.
Bright Memory.
Wait,
Infinite.
can I ask you something about? You said Assassin's Creed is
30
gonna
frames.
run at 30 frames. Is that confirmed?
30 frames. It's confirmed, I think.
This has to be at 4K, obviously.
4K, yeah.
Okay.
But that's my issue. My issue with this stuff is I feel for next gen consoles, and I know that. So what's also been kind of confirmed is that Xbox they're going to release a beefed up version of the Series X, and then another one which is codenamed Lockhart, which is not as powerful, but can still run the same kind of games. So this is what we're dealing with, and I feel like I don't know whether or not that Assassin's Creed Valhalla 30 frames per second 4K is on the lesser.
It's probably on the one that's coming out now, which is
that's a pretty
series.
Maybe. But my thing is, I feel like for it's not like
all right.
Hardware is advanced to the point where you should not have 4K 30. It should be 4K 60 medium. That's what it should be. In
their defense, I will say that game, from the looks of it, and let's take for instance, let's take Assassin's Creed. What's the one before? Odyssey. That game, even on a 2080 Ti, can barely. It can do 4K 60. But that game is rough, and this game looks better. So I feel like it's very game dependent, and especially open world games like that, which are very high with like CPU usage kind of things. I feel like that. Well, because if you're playing like certain games, these systems will be able to do 4K 60 easily. Like, of course, racing games because they're the easiest games to do 4K 60. But like but these action kind of like people are calling Assassin's Creed Odyssey is somewhat of like the crisis of our day. That's how much it actually kind of strains systems. So I'm taking that this new Assassin's Creed, which from what I've seen looks better. So to run that at, because like 4K 60, it's achievable in certain games and stuff like that. But like when you're talking like the newest cutting edge kind of game. Doing that uses more stuff. I don't know if, especially on a console, right? Like, you're still gonna only be paying $500 for this thing.
Here's a statement that was given to IGN from Ubisoft, where they say, and I quote: "Assassin's Creed Valhalla will run at a minimum of 30 frames per second. On Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we are committed to offer the best experience to our players by immersing them in the most beautiful worlds and environments we could create, and leveraging not only the graphics enhancements offered by the next generation of consoles, but also faster loading times and the new architectures." So I guess, if it's a minimum of 30 frames per second, at
4K, I'm sure at 4K.
At 4K, yeah. And again, Assassin's, I haven't played any Assassin's Creed. But from what I do know is that they're very large open world games.
Well, especially the most recent two are. But wait, let me say this. And just as a comparison, like The Witcher 3, which came out to 2015, and that came out on PS4 and Xbox One and PC. That game on that console on PS4 can only run 1080 at 30 frames. it's not like, and even if you try now, it's not obviously wasn't optimized and thought about. I think at the time, but like running that game at 4K 60 still requires beefy hardware, and that game's from 2015. So like I think these depending on the kind of game, and I think those kind of games we might see them try to hit the solid 30 frames.
I mean, I'm still kind of impressed at the specs for this series.
I am.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm looking at the specs. You would think that this is literally almost. If you were to go out and buy these components, you really couldn't buy them for less than $1,000.
Yeah, I would say it's equivalent to about $1,000 computer. About
internal storage, 1 terabyte NVMe.
Right.
GPU is 12 teraflops, 52. What is it? CUDA cores.
But wait.
On RDNA 2.
Before we get to getting into that,
16
really quick.
gigs DDR6. Like this is a lot of. This is some serious hardware.
Let's go down. I think we should just
go down.
Well, no. So Steve, let's continue with the impressions, and then we'll do some of the games. I don't think we need to do all of them like Madden or some shit. But like,
the presentation, I think I said my piece about the presentation already. I felt like it was serviceable, and I think the only faux pas they did was calling it gameplay.
Right.
I think presentation was probably a lot better.
So my personal thing is similar to yours. I think it was disappointing. I was disappointed for a couple of reasons. The first thing I didn't like about it was that it felt like remember how we were talking a long time ago where I said, okay, we're gonna hit a point where the next generation graphics aren't going to be a step of, like, it's going to be almost a side step and not a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, at least with what they showed, it feels like, okay, now, really games, it's not even about polygon models and the way they look. It's more about better lighting and higher frame rates. Like, that's what the graphics are starting to head towards, because none of these games that were shown to me look like they couldn't been done on a PS4. Now, the thing about it is that, obviously, these are early generation games, so they're not tapping into the max. Like, first-party games are going to show us something, I think, spectacular. Like, I think Halo Infinite is probably going to look spectacular. I think whatever Sony has up their sleeves is going to look spectacular. But it definitely, I look like some of the ideas for the game were cool. Like whatever that first person game was that had the person
Bright Memory Infinite.
Okay, was that the one where she had where it started with the gun and then
gun and
then she had a sword and then she whatever.
That one reminded me a lot of Bulletstorm. I guess with the whip feature.
The one thing I'm very curious about is Scorn. That looks interesting.
That was the one that they didn't show anything. They
didn't show a lot.
It just looked like a bunch of nasty.
It was like it was supposed to be like a horror.
Yeah.
Horror.
Was that Chorus or was that Scorn? I know there's two. There was Scorn was like the one with the
one had just a bunch of like nasty looking things, and
it was like some demonic kind of weird.
Oh, yeah, that is Scorn. Yeah.
That was. I feel like my takeaway from that whole thing was it's gonna be less about. I feel no matter what console you get, even on PC, you're gonna get a almost similar experience, but it's really gonna come down to the quality of game you get in content.
It's so weird, right? Like I don't think
it's like I feel like we're going backwards in the sense where remember growing up, you didn't really you kind of just picked up a game and you didn't know the graphics were shit, but you just played it and you had a lot of fun. Well, the game was really good.
I think
that's kind of how I feel with this, where the games, the graphics are going to be the same across every game. So it's not like one game's going to have stellar graphics unless they're like AAA titles. But it's really going to be more focused around the content of the game.
Well, I think there's a little difference too. But I mean, when you're a kid and you pick up a game, you most likely play it regardless because you're just a kid and you don't care. Like, because I'm thinking of something like, okay, we really played a lot of Dragon Ball GT Final Bout.
That game's terrible.
It's one of the worst games, but you couldn't tell us 20 years ago. It was Dragon Ball GT. But I'm just saying, like, at that point, we didn't even know what Dragon Ball GT is. We knew what Dragon Ball Z was. I just thought it was the same shit.
Well, I remember the first time we saw Super Saiyan 4, Goku Super Saiyan 4.
We were like, what is this?
Where did they come from? Is this like made up?
Yeah, but I'm trying to say, like, I just think, like, what you said is valid, but that's valid about anything. Like, if the game is good, obviously, it's gonna be all right. But like, since obviously
it's like things are like at a saturation point now
well,
with graphics.
well, I'm gonna say I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm a PC guy now, and what I saw there, like I've been slowly moving away from console experience because I feel like the PC. I know I'm missing on some good exclusives on on the PS4 side at least, in my opinion. But I feel like
actually, it's good. That actually is a good question. I'll get back to you
but
after you finish.
but since moving to the PC, and now that most games are also always come into the PC as well, like there's no. Used to be kind of you would just have some console games and then maybe a PC port down the line or whatever. But now everything's kind of coming out all at the same time, and it's made me, and I'm like, okay, I'm willing to wait. I'm even willing to wait a while before playing a game like Red Dead Redemption. I had to wait. They didn't even announce when it was going to come out to PC, but I said I know it's eventually coming to PC. I'm just going to wait it out, and I'm glad not that I'm glad I did, but like it's now I can play it with 60 frames per second. That game is beefy, by the way, in terms of Justin. You should just maybe purchase it and try and run it at max.
I did already.
It's a hardware. That thing eats up hardware. It's pretty.
It runs smooth,
but
it runs.
Well, anyway, because you got 2080 Ti, so I mean, that's probably why. So
it still eats.
But
so what was your let's go ahead.
So
what was your overall take?
With the whole thing is that it's very simple. Like I said before, it's. I feel like it's a hard. People are gonna buy it, but like, the disappointment is real because when you see the next generation, you kind of expect some visual leap, and even if it wasn't showing gameplay, the graphics. You couldn't tell. You can't show someone and not tell them what this is and say, "This is next gen," right? Like you could put a PlayStation game and a PS2 game next to each other, and you'll be like, "I know which one's which." And a PS2 to PS3, you can kind of be like that. But PS4 or whatever, Xbox One X to the Xbox Series, whatever, you put them side by side, and I don't think you can really tell right off the bat. Oh, except for faster loading times.
I mean, the way I look at it, I think the best way to tell it depends on your hardware, because if you're looking at it, on like a 4K television and things like that, you may be able to spot the differences in certain things.
But let's say
I'm watching the trailer, I don't have a 4K television, and I'm watching the trailers, and from what I can see, even though it does look impressive, it doesn't. If someone told me that it was playing, this is for current consoles, I believe it. There's nothing.
You're right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh my god, this could never be happening.
Because
this may be the last generation this may be the first generation where we start to see that. Okay, it's not really graphics. It's really
resolution.
I think
and stuff.
At this point, it's either you're going to show like something, a revolutionary gameplay, or it's really your brand that's going to help sell the console.
Question for everyone. Mm-hmm. So, Steve, do you have a 4K TV?
No, I just said no. I don't have 4K TV.
And Justin, you have a 4K TV.
I do.
Now you don't. Do you have a 4K monitor or a 4K TV?
4K TV, but it's got very low response time.
Okay. All right.
Which is fine.
I'm just trying to see because, like, to me, I feel like 4K is one of the things that's thrown out, and I feel like people are just kind of being okay with everything being in 1080. You know what I mean?
No.
Justin,
I'm never going back.
No, but you're being snobby guy. So let's because you stream in 4K, and that's something that most people aren't going to watch because most people don't. I'm trying to say most people do not have. Not that most people don't have 4K, but 4K is
that's okay.
It's not widely adapted, but that's the thing they're pushing. It's not like when I think they were pushing
HD. The reason why I stream in 4K is even though I stream in 4K, you can still watch it in 1080.
I know, but I'm trying to tell you that it has nothing to do with your choice of streaming. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that most people aren't going to be able to, not that they aren't going to be able, but they aren't taking advantage of the fact that maybe these systems can do 4K, or because for instance, like PS Pro and all that other stuff, they have 4K, but like,
it's not real,
is it
not real 4K?
Well, no, that's not. But that's not what I'm talking about either. I'm saying the adaptability that people have for like people having 4K monitors, or I mean, monitor the TV.
The availability of the audience to have.
Well, it's available, right? 4K is not even that expensive anymore. But how many people?
The accessibility of 4K
are really looking towards that. Like you got obviously being on the PC side. Like I have a 1440p monitor, so being on a PC, 2K. I'm 2K, right? So I've noticed, like, I won't even lie, it looks better and stuff. Like it does look better, but it's not so like much better. Where I think you can sell people like the original SD to HD. Like you can just clearly see that 4K you can. I'm not saying you can, but I'm saying, is it like, are people gonna adapt? Like, is that the thing? Is that the selling point, you think? Because like we said, it's not gonna be graphics anymore, because the graphics don't look much better. It's just gonna be now, okay, this thing can run at 4K, I guess. Because I have a 4K monitor. If I turn some settings down, I can play some games in 60, 4K 60, and I don't do it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Are you saying like the layman person wouldn't, like a 4K wouldn't make or break a purchase for somebody, like a layman person, like a regular.
That's what I mean.
Consumer, for example.
And that's who they need, the regular person.
As gamers, we're more in tune with the tech side, and we look for certain specifications.
But it's Joe Call of Duty, man.
It's like, oh, bro, so the game's not on 4K, I can't play it. Like I think there's a lot of people who do know about 4K, but with TV now, like I don't think it's like such a, as you were saying, like such a strong selling point that it would make or break somebody's decision.
I think it would.
A console.
I beg to differ.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only reason why I got the PS4 Pro is because it did some things in 4K.
Yeah, but you fall on that side though that he was saying. You fall on the tech side.
The three of us right now we're all in different spectrums.
But we even see a little bit differently. I will say that because Steve, you don't have a PS4 Pro, right?
Not on PS4.
You don't have an Xbox One X, right? Or do you?
No.
You're not going to go out and buy those just to play things on 4K.
No, I'm good.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, Justin, I know you're different because you like to.
I think you're like
you're on the very extreme end of things, Justin. Like the fact that you have a 2080 Ti shows where you are, which is a $1,200 graphics card. So that leaves you in a whole different category than other people. Most people will not invest in that, like ever. And I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like
I just understand what you're saying. I just think that like it's like, for example, I've played Forza Horizon 4 on my laptop, which can run 2K at 120 hertz.
It can run that game at 4K if it wanted to on it. That game is not that intense.
Yeah,
to run a 4K,
but it's like it's a very pretty game.
Right, it is.
Running it at 2K to 4K, there are things that you'll notice. Obviously, you'll notice between 1080 to 2K and 2K to 4K. Depending on the settings, obviously. Now, the only difference that I'll say is at 4K, you're not using things like anti-aliasing. You're not using that. But at 1080, you're using that. You're using anti-aliasing at like 8 times. So, to your point, if you're playing something that's if you're playing a game at 1080p and you've got, anti-aliasing up to the max, you're trying to get that close quality of 4K without being in 4K.
But
that's the whole.
But here's the thing. What you're saying too is something that I think not everybody even knows. Like Joe Gamer isn't worried about anti-aliasing. I know. He's gonna put it on his. He's gonna put. He don't even know what that means, right? He doesn't. But like the systems we have, they do that shit automatically, right? If the game developer puts it in. Like, yeah. I didn't know about it until Virtua Fighter 4 on PlayStation, because Virtua Fighter 4 didn't have any anti-aliasing. It was just jaggy. And then Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution did. Yes, it's if you could find a video of Virtua Fighter 4 for PS2, it's jaggy as hell. And then the version of, but it has to be the original Virtua Fighter 4 for PS2, because they made an Evolution version that actually has anti-aliasing. So They have a new game. They had to do a new game to put the anti-aliasing in.
That's funny.
Right.
I've never heard of that.
But that's the thing. But that's what I'm saying. Like I think like most gamers just don't even.
They just want the experience.
They're just gonna. They want to put it in. They want to put it in and play it, and then just be blown away from that aspect. And I don't, 4K. I think those who can afford it and make that happen will do it. And like I'm not as high end as you, Justin, but I do try to err on the high end spectrum because that's why I started doing PC gaming. I have a 2070. It's not quite a 2080 Ti. It's not even close. But I have a 2070. I have a 3700X. I'm like trying to,
I'm gonna scoff at. You're playing that at what, 144?
Yeah, and I get 60 easily. I have a 144. I have a 1440p monitor that hits 144.
Yeah, see that's another argument. I feel like these cons like at least give the average gamer something. Like if you have a 120 hertz, if your TV can do 120 frames, do 120 frames.
But that's the other thing.
That's fine.
But that's the other thing.
It's not even doing it. It's just like 60 or 30.
Well, before we get off track, because we are flying off track. No, because there's the thing. No, because that's another thing too. When you buy a TV in the store, like I remember looking at TVs and they talk about hertz and stuff, and then you realize that that's not even the real. They're using a different. They're not even.
They all make up their own refresh rates. Like Samsung has clear motion rate. One has like supervision.
Yeah, and they're all
like you look at your TV refresh rate. It says 240 hertz. You're like, is that 240 frames per second?
And it's really not. It's really
120.
Or half the time it'll be 60, but they, like you said, they'll call it clear motion, or Steve said like blast processing. Yeah. They'll call it
like a little nice.
I was looking at a Samsung TV earlier today. It said 8K. I looked at what the spec said. It just says it's like some form of AI super sampling to make 4K. Like 8K. I'm like, all right, so it's not 8K.
It's literally what the PS4 Pro probably does to get its 4K.
That's exactly what it is.
To layman person, when they see that, they won't know. They'll just be like,
they'll be like, yeah, exactly.
And then once they see it, like for example, when you buy a TV, usually like unless like it's a serious downgrade, once you have a TV, most people have TVs for at least 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have it, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just there and you get used to it. This is one of those products that are just always there.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been our consumer education division on the 8-Bit podcast
portion of this podcast. Okay, wait. Let's get back to focus because I gotta get out of here.
So Justin, let me ask you a question. So from the things that you've seen, what's your opinion on the whole presentation as a whole?
I mean, I thought that it was just
he didn't care enough to even watch it.
I stopped watching after I saw Assassin's Creed and it was like 30 frames.
And honestly, I
just feel like they've had so much time to build this up that at least kind of deliver something. Everybody was expecting.
They should have shown a first party game. I think they should have shown.
People were expecting some real gameplay, some like AAA title.
Yeah.
Not to say that Assassin's Creed isn't a AAA title because it's a really great title.
It is.
But something that's like, like they should have shown like something of Halo. Mm-hmm. They should have shown that.
Something
There's
first
no reason
party.
why you shouldn't have. Because at this point, I have no idea if Halo is even a release title.
I don't think it will be. I'll tell you this. If I had to pick some games that were interesting, obviously I don't care about Dirt, whatever that was. Dirt Rally Racing, I don't know. But
Dirt 5.
There was one game that was... The one game that I thought I wanted to be interested in, I wasn't, which was the one that looked like some kind of Bayonetta, Devil May Cry-ish type action game.
Was it the Scarlet Nexus?
Yeah, it looked okay. Yeah, it looked okay, but that to me looked like that should be on current consoles. Like I was so unimpressed with that. Even in the trailer, you see frame rate issues. Like it was not a smooth experience, and that game did not look that impressive. But the game that
they should have lied to us and just put it on like graphics cards.
Yeah,
and this is fun.
I feel like the game that I thought was the most interesting, and because I don't think we get a lot of games like this, was whatever that Star Fox looking flying game was.
Force, I believe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that game looked actually the most interesting to me. I thought that was like. I don't know, like those kind of games don't come along, right? Like the flying games and like it didn't look like it was on rails, but it like reminded me of like a real true next gen shooter Star Fox-ish kind of thing.
That's the first thing I thought of. I thought of Star Fox.
I did. That's what I thought of, and I said, "This looks good, and it looks interesting." That was the only game out of those, because it wasn't like, 9 out of 10 games is, are always first person shooters these days anyway. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of interesting to see that that type of game just being shown. That was the only game I was really truly interested in. I think. So.
I think one of my main questions is whether or not these titles are going to be released on PC as part of the.
They will. I think they said they're not. I said they're not. I don't know about Game Pass, but they said I don't think they said they're not moving away from PC, Xbox Play Anywhere or whatever. So I think any Xbox game you still will be able to get on PC, which I think is kind of hurts the Xbox a lot. But I'm not going to complain as a PC gamer. Because
me either.
It literally gives me no reason to buy this new Xbox.
Exactly.
I have no reason.
If you have a PC that can run these things, it's like, why would you?
Yeah, it's so much more benefit to having a PC. I don't know, like, you have Xbox Live on PC anyway. You have Xbox Games Pass. You don't have to, you can still play your old stuff. I mean, like, granted, you can do backwards compatibility, but, like, I don't know. If they do that again, I feel like PC players will love it, and they do get it. I think they really done well on the PC side, but I think that really kind of hurts Xbox itself, like, because
Justin, what from the games that you did see, for whatever you saw during the conference, is there any favorites or any trailers that interested you?
Scorn, just out of curiosity to see what that looks like. Scarlet Nexus looks pretty interesting. Bright Memory Infinite seemed a little interesting. So I'll try Assassin's Creed if it comes up if I can get it for the Game Pass. But we shall see.
Nice. And I would say the only games that looked interesting to me were The Medium. And which is apparently Xbox X exclusive. I don't think it's going to move consoles, but it's kind of interesting to see that it's exclusive to Microsoft. And what's the other game? Second Extinction. Second Extinction was the one with the dinosaurs.
Someone just said Second Extinction looks like Destiny with dinosaurs.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a next gen Turok game. I'm like, Turok.
I forgot. I thought it was a Turok game.
I thought it looked kind of interesting. I feel like we don't have enough first person shooters with dinosaurs in it. So
that's probably a good reason. But
I think it would look kind of like fun. The Medium, from what I remember, it was kind of like it reminded me of a lot of those games by what's that?
Silent
Quantic?
Hill.
Silent Hill, kind of like a Quantic quality horror game. So it looks interesting, and I know it's made. I think the composer is from Silent Hill.
Really?
I believe the composer of the game was from Silent Hill, and I'm not sure who's really making the game, but the trailer look interesting. Like, it looks like something I want to play.
Do you know how many Xbox exclusive games were on that list?
I just know of that one and nothing. Scorn is exclusive, I believe. Scorn, and I think that's about it. Scorn and The Medium.
I think this is kind of like PlayStation's chance to up the ante now that Microsoft has shown their hand.
Well, the one last question I want to ask you guys is, what do you think about Microsoft's, well, not Microsoft, but Xbox's smart delivery system? I think, Sterling, you touched on that a little bit earlier. And for those who don't know, smart delivery is essentially where you only have to buy the game one time and you can play it in either consoles. So, for example, if you buy Yakuza Like a Dragon on Xbox One, you'll automatically be able to pay for free on Xbox Series X.
Well,
so how do you guys feel about that?
So wait, you're saying if you buy an Xbox One, you can buy an Xbox Series. You can play it in Xbox Series X, right?
You get that version of the game.
Yeah, that's, I feel like that should be a given anyway. That should, like, you shouldn't make people pay twice for the same thing.
I think it's good that they're doing it. I think that, it just gives people more options. There's nothing bad about it. Like, it gives you an option, like, You know, I don't have to. It keeps people from not buying a game and waiting until they get like, you know, sometimes I'll make people wait. Like, oh, I want to get the next version when I get the next system, so I'm not going to buy it now. Now you don't have to worry about that. Now you can just you can buy it and then, you know, feel free
That
to
was
play.
a good marketing tactic on Microsoft's part to make sure that they can get people to buy their console.
And stick with it. Yeah, stick with it too.
It's one thing if people buy the game and they say, "Oh, you have to buy a whole new game." It's like, all right, well, I'm not going to buy the console.
Or just like some people, like, it will just keep people loyal. Like, you won't have someone saying like, you know, like if they say, "Oh man, PlayStation, I was thinking about it, but now I have like 3 games already for the system because I have the previous, you know, I have the smart upgrade or whatever." So now they can just, that makes it easier for them to choose Xbox as a console, as a future.
I think this really, because both of the consoles are very, very close in hardware, I think this really kind of opened the door a bit more for cross-platform. Aside from, like, you know, standard titles like Fortnite and all that other, you know, shoot, what's the word I'm looking for here to describe the genre?
Battle Royale?
Battle Royale, yeah, Battle Royale style. I feel like you only see crossplay really in Battle Royale style, but now that the hardware is so close between the two, I would hope that we would see more of like opening up to like fighting games. You know what I mean?
I mean, games crossplay in general would. I feel like crossplay has to.
I think it'll be standard one day.
It's almost going to be inevitable, right? Because people are like this.
Yeah, I mean, you see it now with like
this shouldn't, like, keep your exclusive games exclusive, and that's just that. But like, if it's Rocket League and I want to play with Johnny, but Johnny has Xbox and I have PlayStation, this should, you know, that's really, and that's literally the people that make these games want that. Like,
right? Yeah, the developers are all for it.
It's just and I don't know how Xbox feels about it now, because maybe they, you know, but Sony.
I think they'll go for it.
Well,
I think Sony is stubborn because I think Xbox was more willing to do it.
Because they were getting their ass kicked,
so they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, they were getting butt.
I feel like, you know, at some point enough people is going to want it, and Sony's going to have to deliver. You know what I mean? Like, I feel.
And they've loosened up, but like, yeah, like you said, they you know.
I think Sony's just nervous about it from like an infrastructure perspective with how that would be handled across the network on network that's not theirs.
It depends on the game, because it's usually the game.
That's just a switch.
The game will usually, like, the game developers usually will have to handle that, like, server or whatever, because like it's like Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty is cross-play everywhere, right? Isn't it? I know it's cross-play. It's Call of Duty, Xbox and PlayStation. They all can play it together, right? Like, because you're not gonna like, Sony knows, like, Call of Duty probably came out and said, "Yo, this game has to be crossplay," and PlayStation's gonna be like, "No, and don't worry, we don't need your game." They're not gonna do that. So if it's a game that's like big enough, like Call of Duty or something, it'll be in there now. Like, Call of Duty shows like, we want it, and they're not going to turn it down. I think it
works on the developers' favor because, you know,
now they just get way more purchases.
Fragment their audience, you know. Now they can just say we have, you know, 3 billion people playing, you know, all together at once, instead of saying on the Xbox you have this much, PS4 you have that much. You know, you have one cohesive ecosystem. And also, speaking of ecosystem, I also want to kind of chime in my opinion too a little bit. I think the smart delivery system is an awesome feature. I like that they're advertising that, and I like that Xbox is trying to go the way of Apple in a way, in terms of their ecosystem mindset. Having Xbox brand be just like something that's general, like it's like something that's just there. Like, you know, it's a system where it doesn't matter what console you have. You know, you're just part of the Xbox. You know, you're just part of the Xbox network. You know, so I think it's almost going to be in a way where it's similar to what's that thing called? I'm trying to remember the name. Stadia. I know Stadia is not doing well, but, you know, Stadia pretty much you can play on any kind of platform anywhere. So I think their goal is to kind of ingrain in their consumers the idea that you know, no matter where you go, you'll always be part of this Xbox. And I think it's kind of like similar to what Apple is doing, where, you know, if you have they have different products, and no matter what product you get from them, it'll be part of this whole life cycle. So you don't have to, like, feel fragmented. So I think it's a good idea to kind of keep their user base there, and for people to look on the outside. I don't know if it'll really pull people in. I don't know if that's a huge selling point for new people, but I think it's definitely a great way to keep the current member base. So the one last question I want to ask you guys: has this presentation changed your mind about buying any of these consoles? Like, has it shifted your opinion on whether or not you want to get an Xbox compared to PS5?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
I'm getting a PS5.
I'm not even gonna get that yet. I'm not. I don't know. I don't see it. Like I said, it's really about the games. It has to be a game that comes out on these platforms that I must play. That I must play that I can't play anywhere else. And I don't know if they're gonna be able to offer that. Like, I mean, they're good. Like, because I feel like there are good games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if like you can always you can't always substitute. Like, there's no substitute for like God of War PS4. I haven't played it, but you hear all the great things. But like, if I didn't play Uncharted 4, I say like I feel like I could play Shadow of the Tomb Raider or Tomb Raider. You know, maybe not the you don't have all the time in the world to play every game anyway. So I feel like until I see something, like for instance, I would have bought Final Fantasy VII Remake if I didn't have a hunch it would be coming to PC, which I feel like it will in a year. I think the exclusivity ends in a year, and I feel like now I'll just get it on PC and I'll play it there. So, yep.
Justin,
PlayStation 5.
He's gonna get a PC, and this is Xbox. We told Xbox conference. He already knows. He's already locked in. So,
and for me,
what I would really like to see is a sequel to Shadow of the Colossus. That would be really cool.
Wow. That's a pipe dream. They did. It's called what's that one where he has a big dog? Whatever that one was.
The Last Guardian.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. Go buy that.
Is it really?
I heard it's not really a sequel, but it's
in the same universe, I guess.
It's a spiritual sequel, but it's
isn't
nowhere
that
near.
Also in the same universe as Ico?
Yeah, they're all from the same producer company thing.
What's the producer's name?
I don't know, but
name the universe.
But all I do know is that Shadow of Colossus is far beyond probably both of those games. Don't at me. But anyway,
so I'll end at this point with my opinion on the whole whether I'll get Xbox or PS5. At this point, it's still unknown. I don't think there's anything that's making me.
You'll get them.
I'll probably get them at some point.
Because you have no choice
in terms of like launch. I mean, I've been leaning more towards on the PS5, simply because the hardware looks good, and I already know that they have the staple of games already, like the first party games. So I know on that end, they're going to be good on that. For Xbox, they still haven't convinced me just yet. So I think I'm still leaning on PS5, but we'll see what happens down the line. I think they're both going to aggressively try to promote and release information until this holiday season. If they still release during the holiday season. So
they have the same hardware specs. The only difference is that the PS5 has 2 less teraflops and about 18 less compute units, which is if there's one thing I will say that PlayStation does better, I think, than Xbox, is they optimize their user interface much better than Xbox does.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. So
I just feel it's a lot faster when you're going between games and the system UI.
All right. So we'll leave it on that note. PS4 has a better.
PAS5.
PS5 for PS4. I'm confused at this point.
Yeah, I
know. But you know what? It was a good show, and I think this is a good time to end.
Alrighty, guys.
Okay, so it was great. This is our guest, the Probot. Follow him on his channel, the Probot, and also on his Twitch and all his social medias.
And we're 8BG, and we're out of here.
We're out of here. See you guys later.